Hey everyone, welcome to PopXP. And before the show starts, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to get notifications when we go live and we upload awesome new content. And don't forget, if you can, make sure to share our stream on all your social media outlets. We appreciate it, and thanks for helping us grow the PopXP channel.
Hello! What do we have there, Steven Peros?
We have Flamenco Americano.
Oh.
Music by Christopher Caliendo.
Yes.
Caliendo Chamber Jazz. We have Caliendo World Music Hits. Very early recordings like Caliendo Flute and Guitar Ardiente, tangos with the great Sheridan Stokes, who played the great Mission Impossible theme on his flute. We have Major Dundee. I mean, we have so much here. The music of...
There he is. Caliente. That's one of our favorites at the house, Caliente. We'll listen to that on a Sunday when we're cooking. It's fantastic.
Yeah, we have so much to talk about with our tremendous guests. I'm honored to be sharing the microphone with you today. One of the great themes of our working relationship, Billy Tucci, is that we have finally begun working with not just friends. We've always worked with people who are friends, but friends from before we were even shaving, for goodness sakes. You and I have known each other since 7th grade. Barry Orkin, who's an artist who serviced not only the very early issues of SHI, but the current issue of my own comic, which at all of your logos, so many of your logos all throughout the years, but my own book, Stoker and Wells. And now Christopher Caliendo, who hails from Queens, who then moved wisely to North Babylon, New York on Long Island, where he went to North Babylon Senior High School along with my older brothers, and who also made the...
My older brother, Vinny, too, graduated in 78. I don't know what year Caliendo graduated. Is he a class of 78? Or?
Well, you'll have to ask him that. But he journeyed
too young for that.
Los Angeles after he, following his dream of music composition, and he, Henry Mancini himself was part of the scholarship that was awarded to him. Chris will correct me if I'm wrong. He was his mentor, the great Henry Mancini. So many amazing themes. Pink Panther, obviously, what he's most known for. And it brought Christopher here. He worked for CBS, and thankfully to connect with me, because at the age we were at back in New York, there was a bit of an age difference, but here our age kind of closed up the gap, and so we became much dearer friends here than we ever were on Long Island. And without further ado, let's bring Christopher Caliendo into the room.
Ladies and gentlemen, the maestro.
Hey!
Welcome, sir. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Bill and Steve, for always being a good MC. Nice to be here.
You got it. I see, Chris, a private message from you in the private chat says, "What happened?"
Yeah. I didn't know if I was actually. What happened was Chrome put up this little splashing card that said, "We lost you to get back in." It was strange, and all of a sudden, PopXP, my music was being heard, and I went, "Oh, I'm in the right place."
Yeah. What
theme?
Yes, that was it. That was a little sliver of the SHI theme.
So,
oh yeah, it was the opening of the SHI. Maybe I'll play it again. Why not? This is a really brief little introduction to SHI with music by the great Caliendo, and let's just watch that real quick, shall we? Hang on. Excellent. So that was just a midget, a sliver of the Christopher Caliendo original SHI score, which is on the right now. It's available through Kickstarter and Indiegogo for the SHI Way of the Warrior Omnibus #1. I should have. Hopefully I did do that. Put that in the description. If not, I'll just load it back up in there. But and anyone who watches this afterwards can see it, of course, unless we have one of our friends here could pop that in the chat, or I'll just grab it and throw it in the chat myself. But so, Christopher, Steve just gave you a glowing, a glowing recant of your incredible resume, the people you've met, the places you've been,
Just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes, can you? Thank you. Would it be all right for you to let the audience know about yourself, who you are, where you come from, how you got interested in music? I mean, you know, from what I recall, you are quite the wunderkind, if you will. Please share, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Christopher Caliendo.
Yeah, thanks, guys. No, I started. My father tells me these stories, and when I was 4.5, he handed me the guitar, and I didn't take to it. I kind of rebuked it. My dad said 6 months later, he handed me this guitar back in my lap, and I had recalled the 1-4-5 chord from memory and applied it right away. And my father thought that was unusual. Now, growing up, originally born in Jackson Heights, Queens, you know, my dad worked so hard, 3 jobs to support. At one point, there was like 9 people. There was my nonna from Bologna, Italy, her daughter Lucia, my mother, my 4 sisters, and a lot of people. And my father had to work 2 or 3 jobs. So I had to self-teach myself, and I learned that from Dad. I learned self-education and hard work and discipline from Dad, and I fell in love with music early. I knew what I wanted to do. So that journey sort of led into composition. Around 11 years old, I started hearing music, curious how to write it down. As I sought after formal education, I went to New England Conservatory of Music to study with 2 teachers privately, what we call modal counterpoint, which is the study of middle-aged music, how to write music of like the time of Palestrina. And I studied neoclassicism, the great Bartok scholar, Neil Purdom. And then I graduated from UMass in Boston with my degree. And sure enough, to Stephen's point, Henry Mancini offers a scholarship to 1 UC student out of all of California. And I applied and I got the scholarship. The scholarship was a $5,000 grant given in 3 parts. The first part given to you automatically. Well, the second third is when you hook up with a director at the Mellons Theater at UCLA. And the final one is when you finish the project and you just tell Henry. But Henry was more than that for me because I learned, I mean, I went to his concerts. I actually had a relationship with him. And I got a chance to be introduced to Gerald Immel, the famous composer of the theme to Dallas. And, you know, when you walk in, under the mantles of a Henry Mancini, it certainly does. I mean, outside that, you know, Peros, Tucci, and Caliendo are self-made names. I don't think any of us pronounced upon nepotism in our career. I'm very, very proud of that. But Mr. Mancini guided me, and Jerry at the time needed a 3rd orchestrator for his show. Ira Hersham was the principal orchestrator, but Bruce Broughton of film music fame, who scored Silverado, was the person I replaced to orchestrate for Jerry. And I learned the rudiments of 24-piece orchestrations. And very soon I started writing my own cues. And before long, I realized I was writing a great deal of the show for the last 5 years, Knots Landing and then Paradise. Jerry picked up a 3rd primetime television starring the great handsome Lee Horsley. And I learned how to write Western music. So those are my beginnings. Wow. You know, and you start learning the basics of writing quickly. I always had tremendous discipline to write and learn craft, and to this day, learn craft and push thought. But I'd like to think of myself like you, Billy. You see this reflection on SHI, 25 years in the making, and now with new writers like Steve, you see a sense of a protean aspect to the growth of the character. And I'm really big believer on loving Haydn and Gershwin and Vivaldi, because you study their catalog, and it's this protean growth, this constant pushing of thought, new ideas. They don't settle for one kind of, like, you know, the Hollywood tradition of the type of franchise mentality. So, and I've always been a purist. I've always been interested, you know, Stephen held up my tango album, the flamenco album. Love the music of ethnic cultures, and I really do understand and have learned, because of hard work, the different music or instruments associated with different cultures. So when it came to SHI, with a lot of experience both in theater and film behind me, I went into UCLA's ethnomusicology laboratory, well, call it a lab, to where they have all these authentic cultural instruments. So they have the shakuhachi and Chinese bamboo flutes. They have the stringed instruments of the goten and the koto. They've got the percussion instruments. You heard the great taiko drums you love so much, Billy, and the suzami, the small hard drums, and the shakuboshi, which are these clapper wooden sticks the Japanese like to hit to create these special effects. So you hear all that in the score to create the opening monologue, which is the history of feudal Japan. And then as it modernizes into SHI in New York City, you get the Western orchestra flown in. So the 18-minute experience unites traditional Japanese music with Western influenced Japanese music.
let's just, for those who are uninitiated, what we're talking about here is you have put together, you in discussion with Billy, an 18-minute exclusive music, at this point, a very exclusive musical or orchestral piece that is inspired by the early saga Way of the Warrior, which is being featured, which is obviously a big chunk of what's featured in the SHI omnibus that is now blowing up huge on Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So just for those uninitiated who are watching, one of the perks, for those who are backing for a reward level is to, correct me if I'm wrong, Bailey, is to receive a full uncompressed download of the musical suite. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And I'm going to see if I opened it up. I'm going to share that right now, if I may. And let's do a little share. So so we have, I mean, this is a very big, expensive book. It is. It's almost 500 pages, and the book is $60 for the book. But again, we've got 448. There's probably going to be 1,500 of these books or so, all sold, all told, maybe 2,000 of them if it keeps doing well. But again, it's a very expensive perk. We have one of our other perks, though, is, of course, the original SHI soundtrack by Christopher. And that's only $20. So, yes, it's a direct download. You will be downloading it through your company, Chris? Is that how it's done? The what is it? What do you call it? It's a direct download? What is it?
Yeah, basically, the people that do order the soundtrack, the emails will be sent to me, and then I will forward to them both the WAV and the MP3 file. Now, the WAV file is a very high fidelity. You're going to get a much more deeper bass and higher treble experience. And but the MP3, of course, you want to satisfy for those people who may have older computers who can't play WAV files. But that's how it'll be done. It'll be done very quickly because it's a digital product.
Right, so they can get both then. So they can get they will get it as a WAV and an MP3.
Correct.
Oh, good. So now once they get this so it's $20. Now, can they put that on, say, if anyone has an iPod, or keep it on their iPad and play it with their regular music?
Well, sure, if they wanted to, for a real cool experience, is if they have the original SHI. And by the way, just to add to Steven's comment, this soundtrack is exclusive to SHI #1 in the 16-book arc that you're selling as an omnibus. So they can actually read the comic with the soundtrack supporting the images, and the special effects could actually guide you as to where you are musically in sync with the mag.
Excellent. And there's our Deborah saying hello.
Hello.
Hello, honey. Yeah, I can't see the way the StreamYard is working because I'm not the primary Facebook account. The PopXP one is. I can't see any of the Facebook messages. They don't pop up in our little messaging here, and for that I apologize.
Well, we've got a few people popping in. Chris Baratis is on.
Yeah, Chris says one actress would be a great choice to play SHI in a live action movie or television series. Half Japanese actress Sonoya Mizuno. Not familiar with
pronounced.
Oh, thank you. I practice a lot. I practice a lot when I'm alone. And of course, Page One Comics. Hello. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. What's your favorite? I don't know any SONY TV movies. Steve, that's the Peros thing.
You know, it's funny. I am not. I wrote for Jackie Chan, but I've never actually seen. I can't recall any Sonny Chiba films in particular that I can say that I've seen. Hello, Page One Comics. Billy, they'd like to have you on their live stream on Page One Comics.
Oh, heck yes. That would be fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
James Sanchez said they should switch to YouTube. Anyway, James Sanchez, is this the same James Sanchez who became a great-grandfather today?
Yes, he did.
If I'm not mistaken. On Facebook.
We should have James on to see how that happened.
I was going to write, I mean, I don't know James so well, though I did dine with him in Comic-Con. I was going to type, how is that mathematically possible?
I know.
Well, James man looks like a youth.
I know. He's a huge music fan, so I'm sure that's why he's tuning in. Because
he's a great-grandfather. Good God.
Yeah, he's probably gone through, I don't know how many concerts this guy has gone to, but it's got to be well into the hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so this is the campaign I can't check out because I can't do this, but so this is the so this is, where is he? Yep, so you can get the SHI original soundtrack if you guys check it out again. And Chris has done an amazing job. Have we queued up at all, gentlemen, to play any of the music? Because I was having trouble doing it through my Dropbox, and I thought I did that the other day and played it.
Well, Christopher, let's Christopher. Could Christopher simply hit share and hear it? We can hear it directly from his laptop.
Let's try this.
Yeah,
I'll mute my mic.
Yeah, I'll mute my mic as well.
Now, tell me if you can hear that.
Yes. All right, let's not give it away. Chris, you want to pause it for a minute or bring it down? Now, okay, so that was the prelude music, correct? So I assume when you were talking about when the prelude talks about the battles between the various the SHI warriors and the samurai and all, that's when you threw that in and all? That's
Correct.
where all the battle was going on?
That covers the first page, right? Gives you the feudal background of the fighting and the warfare, and leads you into the opening credits, the classic SHI face, that covers the comic book, and then you enter the storyline. Yeah.
Well, but, terrific. I'm glad you, Eric. Yes, Eric McIntyre. Yes, it will be available. It's you may have jumped in a little later, but yes, it is a $20 reward level for a backer reward level on both the Indiegogo campaign and the Kickstarter campaign. 2 different versions. You can download both. A WAV file as well as an MP3 that you could download and play in all ways that you play and listen to your music.
Yeah. So, Eric, that answers your question, Eric McIntyre. But yes, in fact, you can. And like I said, you can enjoy Billy's epic story in a new way. And I think that's what I wanted to do. I most of my catalog is either in film and television or in the theater. And like Steven Peros, who moved into comics, and I also thought, why not contribute to this art form that I loved so much since I was a kid? And I was telling Billy earlier on, the story of this was that I'm in bed at 11:30 p.m. at night, and I was just playing a little, doing a little exercise that I teach on my music academy. And it was like, just jot down on a piece of paper 2 or 3 things you love to do and just put them together and see what comes out of it. So I wrote down love of comic books, love of electronic media soundtracks, and love of literature. And the first thing that came to my mind was, I'll go into my archives and pull out SHI. And I pulled it out, and I could not sleep that night. I went into my studio, I recorded the monologue, wrote the music, and sent it to Bill. I said, Billy, what do you think? Because I was thinking of a multimedia experience, right? I mean, can a person, adult or young person, read a comic book and enter a customized score, not something that's library? I can't stand library music, folks.
I know you did that. We had a funny exchange because you're like, well, what kind of music are you looking at? And I just ripped some of the standard stuff you see on TV shows and all that you could download, and you just sent me an email back that says, "This hurts my heart."
and I'm not. Listen. There's good and bad and everything, and I think the most beautiful thing about getting older is you really start to try to view why you don't like something and maybe why you do. But with all respect to Hans Zimmer, who's an absolute electronic genius, he totally changed film scoring from my early generation, which was the art of writing a beautiful melody, which is a form of advertisement. When you think of The Godfather, you cannot, if you hear the theme of The Godfather or The Pink Panther, the whole film comes to mind, right?
Right.
But Zimmer came along and just this whole electronic boom, and there's no theme. It's just really a lot of sound effects. Again, he does a lot of great stuff too, but it created a whole new movement. And you have to go with the movement, folks. The electronics, the drums, the digital compressed sound, but you can still take with a creative traditional imagination with the electronics and create something really cool. And that's what I hope to achieve with your score, Billy, is to give a real Japanese Western musical experience.
Yeah, and because I love like Vangelis, if that's how you say his name, and Kitaro. They inspired me. I actually remember drawing the first couple of issues of SHI, or developing the whole concept, listening to their scores, or the sound, or their recordings. They weren't scores or anything like that. But that's why I love it. I love that you brought in all those woodwork, those wooden instruments, like you said, the clappings, and then the taiko drums, and it's just exceptional, my friend, exceptional.
No, thank you so much. And it's a process, and I'm anxious to do more of these because it is a process, and you begin to learn the art form or create the art form. But the first thing you do is you record the voices, and you try to get those things right. And then you fly in the artwork to match the voice, and then you use the voices and the artwork to inspire the music so it's cadence right, and you get all the hits right. And so it exists on its own. Like I remember listening to John Williams' Star Wars CD, and I could sit in a chair in front of a fireplace and just play that CD, and you will recognize greatness because the themes, the leitmotifs are through. It's real composition, folks. I mean, this is stuff you go to school for and you work hard for, but you write something that's literally unified. Every cue sounds like it came from the original idea. It's great stuff, real composition.
Yeah, wasn't also a lot of Star Wars taken from with Vivaldi or something? Where did he get John Williams kind of get that dun, 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 dun? Is that from an opera or something?
Oh, well, a lot of people who may be intimidated, threatened, or jealous of John Williams, I mean, any composer, they'll say, oh, what is it, plagiarism, right? I mean, yes, Superman, you could take the end of the 1950 whatever black and white Superman show and say the end theme of that is the beginning of John Williams' Superman theme. And John Williams is John Williams, folks. You do not get to be John Williams unless you know what you're doing. I mean,
I also heard the guy that
holds the planets.
Right.
A lot of people say he holds planets, right?
Yeah, a lot of people take that. And I also noticed, Steve, and you and I would have this discussion when we were kids, that we realized that the guy that did the score to the Lone Ranger actually ripped it off of something else.
Well, it's the way you tell overture. What are you talking about? We all know that. Look, I look at it, Billy. You are inspired by all the art, as you should be. You stand on the shoulders of all the artists who you have admired. I am a writer and a filmmaker. You're a writer, a cartoonist, as you like to call yourself. Obviously, I see my influence in my filmmaking, my screenwriting, my playwriting, and a musician is no different. Of standing on the shoulders of all your influences, as I'm sure John Williams does. When you actually add that to the sheer volume of output the man has created over the years, the number of not just feature length, but feature length plus movies he has scored in his lifetime, of course we're going to hear the influences peep through. That's not the same as John Williams saying, I'm not going to spend any time on this score. Here's a little piece that no one probably knows about. I'll just steal it. No, it's just his influences coming through. So yes, I agree with Christopher. It's a strange, petty reaction to people who are. It's just contrarianism, which has grown in the era of the internet. How can I be a contrarian? Too many people like John Williams. I will knock him because too many people like him.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
What are some of your influences? Who do you like? Like whether they're contemporary composers or like who does Christopher Caliendo listen to when you're driving in your car? Are you a big Streisand fan like me? Or what's your deal? What's your
Well, right above me, you can't see is a beautiful picture of Beethoven that I got in Bonn, Germany. So I have to look at that every day and just be very humble. Beethoven to me is the greatest composer that ever lived. But in terms of film music, if someone, and I've been on many daises and they asked me that question, and if I had a choice between John Williams and Jerry Goldsmith, I would say Jerry Goldsmith, and only because of it, or I would say Nino Rota, or I would say Miklos Rozsa, because the extent of their ability not only subsists in film, but Leonard Bernstein conducted Nino Rota at the New York Philharmonic. So they have a theatrical side to them, which is a totally different voice. If you listen to John Williams' theatrical voice, it sounds just like film music. But the thing that John Williams has achieved, and Nino Rota and Jerry Goldsmith, is they become an adjective. And what I mean by that is I can honestly say that music sounds like John Williams. That story sounds like Steve Peros, or that artwork is Billy Tucci. Now, how do you get to be an adjective? I had a fascinating story with Gary Gianni on this, and it really was interesting because he was talking about, like, I'll take, for example, when I started writing tangos, you need to study the ancestral dance forms that shape the tango. You have to go deep. You have to dive deep into the history. Once you master the habanera and the milonga, now you have all the theory and all the mannerisms that created the tango. And then you write 20 tangos, right? And then you start writing your own. You take flamenco and add it to tango. You take jazz and add it to tango. And now you become an adjective. You see, that's the process. So obviously mimicry and emulation and copying Spider-Man 10, you're not going to get any originality out of that, folks. But you look at everything we love, Billy, your artwork, Stephen, the writers, the playwrights, all of them, I guarantee, did not fit the mold. They broke the mold, shaped their path. And those are the people I love. Jerry Goldsmith is a chameleon. He's a composer for film. Every score, you look at Planet of the Apes, Chinatown. I mean, it's so every score is different because he looks at the Billy Tucci comic book per se and says, I only need this many instruments to say what I need to say to make this authentic and put my stamp on it. I'm not going to take this comic book that I scored and borrow that and slap it on this one, right? And there's too much of that going on today. People are afraid of either originality or do not put the time and effort in. But I love the work of Prokofiev. We don't have many scores for him, but my God, Alexander Nevsky, if anyone, I challenge composers today who are just digital media composers and press a button on a keyboard and make a sound, think they're a composer. And I hand them that score. But what they don't know is that he wrote that 2-hour masterpiece in 3 weeks and orchestrated it, folks.
Wow.
I wrote Major Dundee, 85 minutes of music in 4 weeks. That's the equivalent of 7 Mozart symphonies. The time we have is so limited. So you have to really, really learn your craft. You have to learn your craft very well. But anyway, long-winded answer, but a lot there. But certainly on the classical side, Billy, there's so many composers I love and admire. Stravinsky, Beethoven. I mean, Stravinsky's the Beethoven of the 20th century. There's no doubt about it. Ravel, orchestration, Puccini, Verdi, all the opera. There's so much there. Mozart. Thank God we have them. They inspire me every day.
Absolutely. Now you mentioned Gary Gianni. Oh, sorry, Steve.
No. Go ahead, Gary Gianni. Your fans.
You mentioned Gary Gianni. Now you're working with him too, so you are now branching out from our little comic book, and you're expanding into the comic book industry. You want to start creating digital comic book scores, but also then something even more than that, with actors and things like that, almost like a radio show of a comic book, right? But with the visuals added to it.
Yeah, so I mean, one can't blame oneself in the digital age to want to create their own sort of grassroots cottage industry art form. And I'm hoping that the soundtrack here will catch on, that people will share it, and more opportunities will come my way. Neil Gaiman has written a marvelous short story based on Sherlock Holmes, and it has been in print. But when he met Gary Gianni, and his manager decided that let's have an illustrated deluxe version, much like your omnibus. So Gary has drawn these marvelous illustrations. His artwork is currently in the Norman Rockwell Museum in New York City. So Gary's really top of the line right now. And we met in Chicago, had dinner. We've been friends for several years now. And Neil Gaiman's manager reached out to me and said, Gary speaks the world of you. Do you have something from your library that could support the illustrations in the story. And the first thing I thought about was, oh no, I don't want to add library music. I want to do something original, right? But I sent him like 6 pieces. And Steven Peros doesn't know this, but I'm going to tell him now live. So get ready, everyone. Prepare for this following statement. Steven Peros is the author of Stoker and Wells, and I wrote a score for Stoker and Wells. I sent that in a Google Drive to Neil Gaiman's manager in London because Sherlock Holmes, Stoker, and and H.G. Wells,
and they stole it from Peros.
No, he said, "What did you send on that Google Drive? It's fantastic." And I went, so I know that they're going to use that as a temp track. And they're going to come back to me in 2 weeks and say, okay, can you customize what we love and for our own,
That's extraordinary. I love it.
Yeah, I love that too. You sent it to me. Do you have a sample of that you could play? A small smidgen, 30 seconds or so.
Okay.
We have that on YouTube. That's actually on YouTube.
Okay, so let's go to is that 5 minutes long though, Steve?
Yeah.
We won't go that long, but let me find it real quick.
Oh, if you can find it, great. If you could find it, great. I don't know if I may have that.
Stoker and Wells. Hang on. It's the N symbol, right, Steve?
Yeah, but who knows?
Oh, I do have it. I do have it.
Well, I'm going to play it with some of the music, though.
I've got it with the video.
Oh, you do have it with video. Excellent. You want to share your screen? Make sure you share the sound. Click the sound button.
Did I do something wrong last time? You hit the sound button.
No. When you share it, you'll see in the lower left-hand corner, it says audio. Share audio as well.
Leave studio. You're on the air. All right. Can you see my screen now?
No, you got to share it.
Hold on. I thought I did share it.
No.
I thought I did share it. Share screen. Share screen. And share here. How are we doing now?
You're not.
You want me to take a shot at it, Billy? Because I
got it. I got it right here. I got it. Hang on.
Can you see my? You can't see my screen, isn't it?
I cannot. It's okay. I'll share mine. Oh. All right. Stop that music. Let me share the page. Share audio. Stoker and Wells graphic novel.
I just love this era.
I know this is so great. I'm gonna full screen it. Hang on.
Oh, you do have it. Look at that.
Yeah. Are you ready? Here we go, guys. Can you hear it? Can we hear it?
It's broken up. Could be louder.
Oh, it's broken up. It's weird, huh?
That's too bad. Yeah.
You can't hear it?
Well, it's broken up. The fidelity's.
I don't know. We're having trouble with the internet all day.
Really, do you want me to try with my Mac? One last shot? Okay.
Please, Steve. Please.
Okay, here we go.
So you're a little bit broken up too. It might be that.
Let me do the share, which I did not do.
Okay.
We apologize for the technical.
Mike Kelly says hello, everyone.
Hello, Mike Kelly.
Am I going to be sharing my entire?
Rivas says hello. What? Ready, Steve? Share?
Am I sharing my entire screen? That's so bizarre.
No, you got to share the little link there up in the top. You share your Chrome or whatever your screen. No, you're killing it.
All right, sorry.
I think it's the YouTube link. I think it's the YouTube link is messed up.
Oh, I see. It says Chrome tab.
Yep, Chrome tab. But
no. I'm sorry. It's just not working out.
I think it's the tab. I think it's the YouTube link actually, because I had trouble with it and you. So whoever loaded that up, which one of you guys loaded it up, Steve or Chris?
I didn't know. I've loaded nothing. I canceled it. But let's just move on from here.
Christopher Caliendo, you might have to reload that up, Chris.
It's on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I don't know where
there's a problem with the link.
Well, for those of you interested,
it's right here.
YouTube.
Yeah, it's on Christopher Caliendo's YouTube. I'll add the link to it too. But okay, so now you're working with Gary Gianni. You've hopefully it looks like that you can put something together with gaming. This is fantastic. So how do we go and how do others follow you? How can people sign up for Christopher Caliendo's newsletter that belongs to your 8,500 Caliendo army? Caliente, as I like to call them.
Calientes.
The Calientes.
Well, there's the website. There's two of them. There's ChristopherCaliendo.com, and that's pretty simple. We can add that to the chat. And the other one is Tucci, the number 2, the letter T, .academy.com. And that is a whole different thing. It's an online music education platform where we provide business training for liberal art majors, musicians who wish to pivot their skill sets into the world of industry. So we teach entrepreneurial skill sets. We have about 22 faculty members. They're CEOs and MBAs who teach you business skills so you can reach your entrepreneurial aspirations as a creative artist. That's a whole different program, but you can certainly just register and you'll immediately be part of the newsletter.
Well, Chris, we'd like to, if it's okay with you, we'd like to have you on again as the campaign is closing, maybe the last week of August, or the week of the 20th of August.
Sure.
And then we can go through the whole thing. We can make it a whole big Caliendo show. We just kind of wanted this out there for people to see it.
Yeah, I mean, and just like Jerry Goldsmith, I mean, Christopher's diversity is extraordinary. You know, that early Western music he's talking about. He rescored Major Dundee for Sony, which is available on Blu-ray through, I think, both Sony's original Blu-ray and also Twilight Time. Christopher scored 2 films for me, which are both available to be watched. This glorious score for my first film, Footprints, which you can watch on and hear Christopher's score in 5.1 surround sound on Fandor, on Tubi, T-U-B-I, on Vudu as well, V-U-D-U, and The Undying, which right now only exists as physical media on DVD, a wonderful ghost story starring Emmy nominees Robin Weigert for Calamity Jane, and also Anthony Carrigan, who was in, what is that wonderful show that was on HBO about the hitman? One word. Anyway, big hit show. He was nominated for. Christopher's music is wonderful. My producer is changing distributors, so right now it's just the DVD. So there's no streaming yet. It was, but not any longer. But Christopher's music is glorious. And
little anecdote about that film for those who are composers in the audience who may be composers yourself. When you're dealing with a not so big budget, you get very creative. So my cellist, Armin Kazikian, who's well known in the Hollywood studios, took an alligator clip and clipped it at the bottom of his C string and snapped it. And we sent the sound of that through a Lexicon digital delay system to create all the eerie effects whenever you see a specter or a ghost or glass shattering. And it really works, folks.
Yeah,
it does work, right, Steve?
Oh, absolutely. Chris's scores are amazing. Barry, the star of it, is an actor we discovered, Anthony Carrigan, who got nominated last year for a show for his work as supporting actor in the HBO series Barry. So yeah.
You know, I'd love to do, Chris. I'd love to have we play throughout we do a show for you, 45 minutes, and we play bits of all your scores from the films. We play some of your fun music, like the Caliente one, which Debbie and I love. And then we can go and just have kind of a Caliendo retrospect. Would you do that later on this month?
Yeah, it'd be my privilege. Would love that. I would do it only if the fidelity is good, because otherwise it's...
Yeah, we'd have to work through the technical kinks and glitches. There is a way to do this through a Zoom.
Yeah, well, what we'd have to do, Steve, and just mute yourself, Steve, while I think we're getting an echo. What we'll have to do is, Chris, you have to put it together. If you then put it together and you can run it or share it to me, we'll work that out, and then we can do the whole conference. And then we'll talk over it. So we'll have that music. We'll have your music running through, and then we'll flash like the CD cover or whatever it would be, or the film or something like that. I think if we could play little bits of Major Dundee, just little snippets, so we don't get in trouble.
Yeah,
but I think that would be a lot of fun.
On my social media, we run a lot of. There's some terrible echo going on. We run a lot of on Sundays. We run a film series where I take an actual clip from a film of mine, 45 seconds a minute, and run it, and people really seem to be enjoying that.
See, that's what we'll do. That would be fun.
I can take all those clips and just put them into one screen flow.
Yeah,
very easy to do. Sure,
I think that would be great. And we'll go through the whole thing, and we'll end with SHI, or we'll begin with SHI, because
got it and big. Got it
Yes.
and big. So thank you, audience, for being interested in the music and SHI and supporting our campaign and this whole novel expression.
Have you ever heard of Akira Ifukube?
No, actually, Chris Baradas, I have a comment on that. I have not, but certainly you must know Takemitsu, who was Akira Kurosawa's primary composer.
Well, let me
scored.
Sorry, go ahead. My apologies.
He scored Ron. And Billy, if you like taiko drums, that opening scene on flat land with the boars hunting the boar, those are real authentic Japanese taiko drums. Akira Kurosawa, greatest Japanese composer of the 20th century. You should check him out. Yeah,
I will say yes. Akira Ifukube did all of Toho's from Godzilla onward, probably from '56 till the mid '70s. I think he did all of the great Godzilla themes and so much of the nearly all of the music for. I mean, you talk about John Williams and the amount of output he had to do. Yes, all of those classic themes from Godzilla, War of the Gargantuas, Rodan, Ghidra are all his themes, which they actually used and in tribute to him in this new cycle of Godzilla films. They actually brought back his themes, reorchestrated them for a million instruments. It's quite extraordinary.
I think it's also fascinating. Well, maybe we'll end here. Is that every great director has had a great composer. You think of Hitchcock, you think of Bernard Herrmann, you think of course Spielberg, you think of John Williams, but these matches have become permanent fixtures in the canon of film history. They've had long-lasting relationships, and there's something suggestive about that, folks. And all of these composers have had enormous technical skills. They're just tremendous skills, both in theater and in film. Really great to know that and follow that.
That's the great thing about collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we are. Billy, you're the first person I've worked with in the comic industry, and I hope it continues. Thank you.
Oh, it will, my friend. So listen, we'd love to have you back. Steven, I'd love to have you come back too. We could talk about this. I'd like to do, our campaign ends on the 20th of August, which is a Friday, but maybe we could do it either that Friday, we could do it Wednesday, whatever time, we'll figure something out, maybe the Wednesday before that. We have a fun little stream about, with the music, the music, have you on it, and we can talk about the music of SHI, but just, composing a film and a comic book score on the PopXP, I think that would be great. And we just love the music, and you just pick and choose and talk about it.
Yeah. And I want to extend the same courtesy to Steven. I know this is the SHI show, but I didn't even know Steven was going to be on. It was great. But yes, we've had a nice working relationship over the years too, and always hope it continues.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, Billy says, I don't know how to talk to Caliendo. Will you please come on? I need you. No,
I'm the man. He just yells all the time.
Christopher, do you see how I labeled myself?
Yes, for those of you watching, Steven's Aka is friend or fiend. Now, when I was 13, my sister Lisa, who's watching, is going to crack up over this, but I loved Warren magazines. Billy, how many people pulled out an eerie or creepy and saw Frazetta's paintings and went, "What is that?" Well, I wrote to James Warren, and I sent him a story of mine as 13 because I want to be a horror story writer, and it's called Friend or Fiend. And it was published. I never forget the letter from James Warren. I opened it up and I had no idea. He goes, "Congratulations, your story's going to appear in Creepy 43." And I was like, wow. Oh, it's still one of the great feelings. I still remember the feeling. And if you go into my archives, every creepy, every eerie, every Vampirella is back there. Everyone.
You need to recreate that glorious Halloween card you sent out one year with the creepy cover on the front, and you open it, and it is a photocopy from the actual pages of Eerie of your little short story. It's the best. It's probably buried somewhere in my file. I can't imagine I ever threw it out. That would be insanity.
That's okay. I've got some copies.
I
know we have
everyone.
to go, but
Yeah. Well, thank you. We're gonna have both of these wonderful gentlemen back in about 2 weeks, about 3 weeks time, and that's gonna be a fun show. I'm really looking forward to that. So if anybody wants to stick around, we have Jimmy Palmiotti coming on with Jennifer Van Damsel, talking about his new book that launched today on Kickstarter called Rage. And here's your old pal Bill Tucci running the show without Niall Scala, who's he's indisposed. Let's put it at that. I think he's on vacation. Who knows what he's doing, but good for him. So, all right, guys. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Love you guys. Thank you for this. Everyone out there, thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon. And James Sanchez, who's seen thousands of concerts. So look at that.
Thousands. God bless
thousands. All right, guys. Everyone have a great day, a great night. And if you want to keep coming on, we're going to pop on with a new show in 5 minutes. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on PopXP. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at the PopXP and over on Instagram at the PopXP. Thanks again everyone, and we'll see you soon.